Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're pulling apart a really fascinating intersection, ancient philosophy and cutting-edge artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it sounds like an odd pairing at first, doesn't it?
It really does. Our source is excerpts from a video, The AI Paradigm Shift in Stoicism, a conversation with Norman. And it's just packed with insights looking at human motivation, power, productivity, all changing because of AI.
Right. And our mission here, really, is to see how these seemingly opposite ideas, Stoicism, ancient wisdom, and modern AI, how they might actually predict the end of consumerism.
The end of consumerism as we know it, that's a big claim.
It is, and what that means for how we live, how we think. It's quite a journey from that ancient wisdom to, well, a future run by algorithms.
Okay, let's unpack this. The speaker on our source, he actually wrote a book, Stoic Samurai, I believe.
That's right, available in French and English.
And he seems to really embody this discipline he talks about. There's even this detail about him using Kindle glasses, like smart glasses to read while resting.
Yeah, it shows that seamless integration, right? Weaving learning into just everyday life.
Exactly. So building on that personal discipline, the video gets into the core Stoic teachings. What are those fundamental ideas they highlight?
Well, what's really fascinating is the emphasis on how fleeting fortune and power are. I mean, think about it. Emperors like Nero or Egyptian pharaohs, they had immense power, right? But they couldn't escape downfall. It's this timeless lesson about how fragile status is, how life is just constant flux.
Nothing lasts forever, essentially.
Pretty much. And the source connects this back, using that Stoic frame, to critique our modern consumer society.
How so?
It argues that our consumption is all rooted in this kind of unfulfilling cycle. We're driven by the illusion that possessions, fancy handbags, luxury stuff, that they provide real meaning, lasting happiness.
But they don't, according to this view.
Right. It's really about keeping an economic engine running, an engine that thrives on creating desire and, well, fulfillment that never quite arrives.
So for you listening, this is really a challenge, isn't it? To think about how often that external stuff, wealth, materialism, it just fails to bring that lasting inner peace.
Which is such a core Stoic idea.
Yeah.
And it still resonates so powerfully today.
Okay, so we have this Stoic critique of consumerism.
Okay.
How does the source then pivot to AI? Because it makes this incredibly bold prediction about consumerism being obsolete in the AI era.
Yeah, it's dramatic. Yeah, why?
What's the logic there?
It raises this really important question about the fundamental shift that's happening.
Yeah.
The argument they present is basically threefold.
Okay, lay it out for us.
First, the source just flat out posits AI will replace most work.
Most work. Wow.
Yeah. And the logic is pretty direct. If people don't need to work in the traditional sense, they won't earn money like they used to.
Right.
Which means consumer spending. Well, it loses its foundational pillar. No income, less spending.
Makes sense. What's the second point?
Second, power structures are shifting big time. Historically, power meant violence, war, big Roman Empire, right? But now the argument goes, power is shifting to technological supremacy, specifically AI.
So AI is the new weapon, in a sense.
In a way, yeah. AI represents this new form of conquest. Total behavioral control through digital systems. Think about it, control at a granular level that past conquerors, like Alexander the Great, they couldn't even dream of manipulating.
Total behavioral control. That's
intense. And the third point ties into that, the new global race. It isn't economic, it isn't military, not primarily. It's technological competition in AI development, full stop.
And the implication?
Stark. Whoever leads in AI, the source suggests, dominates globally, and perhaps permanently.
That is a pretty stark vision. Does the source elaborate much on what that total behavioral control might actually look like, or the the ethics of it?
It focuses more on the capability, the mechanism of control, that granular manipulation via digital systems.
No.
Less on a deep ethical dive, more on the unprecedented potential for influence AI brings. So it really forces you to consider this existential inflection point. The source is suggesting, look, fulfillment used to be maybe tied to consumption, but now survival influence. It might all hinge on AI supremacy.
Okay, moving from the theoretical to the practical, the source then details the speaker's own experiences using OpenAI's new agent feature. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. Think of it like an automated digital worker, a virtual assistant you instruct with prompts to do complex tasks.
Okay, like what can these agents actually do right now?
Well, They're surprisingly versatile already. Things like planning vacations start to finish, automating social media publishing it can handle the hashtags, keywords, scheduling, the works.
Really?
Yeah, and even creating B-roll footage for short videos.
Impressive. But I assume there are caveats.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
The speaker's very upfront about the current limitations. They're impressive, yes, but also temperamental. Unpredictable runtimes. For one, a task might take 9 minutes one time, 50 the next. Sometimes they need confirmation, sometimes they just run with it. And a big one, they can't easily access your local documents to copy-paste text because they run in a kind of virtual sandbox.
Ah, okay. That sounds like a significant hurdle for practical use.
It can be.
And what about the cost? Is it efficient yet? Balancing cost versus output?
According to the source, not quite. The basic $20 a month subscription gets you about 10 hours of agent time, but maybe only 5 hours of that is actually productive output right now.
Only half.
Yeah. And there's a $200 a month pro tier promising around 50 hours. But even that is described as, well, immature. The performance just isn't fully there yet.
So given these growing pains, it sounds like we're still a ways off from truly seamless digital labor. Does the source offer any hope, maybe a timeline for when they might become genuinely useful?
Yes, absolutely. There's strong future hope expressed. He believes the performance needs to effectively double 3 times. So an 8-fold improvement to be truly useful across the board.
And how long might that take?
Based on exponential trends we've seen before, like Moore's law in computing, he's expecting this within about a decade.
A decade. Okay.
And this whole section really highlights how prompt engineering becomes a crucial skill.
Right. Crafting the instructions for the AI.
Exactly. The better your prompt, the more effective the agent. It really underscores this gap we're in, between the current, sometimes clunky limitations and the absolutely immense future potential of this digital labor.
So the source wraps up with something a bit different, a philosophical discussion with someone named Norman about AI's future trajectory. What are the contrasting views there?
Yeah, it's an interesting divergence. It raises this key question. Is AI progress going to hit a plateau soon? Like smartphones, Norman and another person, Mick, suggest this possibility. Smartphones haven't radically changed in functionality for years, right?
True. The core experience is pretty stable now.
So is AI like that?
Right.
Or is it exponential, like the growth we saw with transistors, with data storage capacity? That's what the speaker believes, that rapid, truly transformative changes are still very much on the way.
And the speaker aligns with the exponential view.
Firmly. He talks about approaching a potential singularity, that hypothetical point where tech growth just accelerates beyond our ability to comprehend, maybe changing everything.
So it really boils down to this linear versus exponential debate. That seems central to how we even imagine the future with AI.
It absolutely is.
Okay, let's try and tie all these threads together then. We've covered Stoicism, consumerism, AI capabilities, future trajectories. What are the core philosophical and strategic takeaways from this deep dive? What should you, the listener, really take to heart here?
Well, stepping back, I think the first big takeaway is this idea that modern life might be shifting fundamentally, moving away from finding meaning primarily in consumption, towards an existence just increasingly dominated, maybe even defined by AI.
Okay, that's profound. What else?
Secondly, repetitive labor, mental or physical, seems destined to be offloaded to these intelligent systems.
Which could be freeing.
It could free humans up, yes.
Yeah.
But it also dramatically reduces our traditional economic relevance. And that raises huge questions about purpose, about value.
Definitely. And the third takeaway.
It's about that AI race. Winning isn't just presented as a national strategy for advantage. It's framed as, well, as a global survival imperative, almost existential.
Wow. Heavy stuff. And finally, it loops back to the beginning. Those ancient Stoic principles, things like detachment from materialism, preparing yourself mentally for profound, rapid change, cultivating that inner resilience.
They're presented as being more critical than ever, essential tools, really, for navigating the future that seems to be unfolding.
What a journey we've taken. Seriously. From ancient Greek thinkers right to the bleeding edge of AI.
Yeah.
Exploring how Stoicism might actually offer a kind of guide for a world where AI could completely reshape our economy, maybe even our definition of meaning itself.
It really does make you pause and think, doesn't it, about how we define purpose. If consumerism does fade, if work changes as dramatically as suggested, how do we cultivate inner peace? How do we build resilience in a world increasingly dominated by AI?
It leaves us, and you listening, with this really compelling question to chew on. If AI reaches a point where it can provide all the material goods, all the services we could desire, what then becomes the true measure of human flourishing?
Is it just freedom from labor? Is that the end game?
Or is it something else entirely, something perhaps we haven't even properly defined yet?
A question for the ages, maybe.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into AI, Stoicism, and that bold prediction about the end of consumerism. Until next time, keep digging deeper.
Welcome. I'm waiting for my Booker coach. I have a couple of minutes. So I want to have a small chat with you. First, I would like to recommend you, as always, my Stoic book. It's called Stoic Samurai, and you get the link in the description. And if you want, you can scan the QR code. You would get instantly to the site for the English version of my book. And there's also a French version. I've written it in French and translated it into English for you. So you can also scan the QR code for the French version. If you talk French, it's better to read it in French since I have written it in French. The English version is only a translation. But I've already read it. I think I'm my fourth read of the English version. And it's very pleasant to read. So I enjoy it a lot reading it. I get used to the English vocabulary of Stoicism and the English words people use. So when I speak with an English guy, it's easier for me to talk about a Stoic subject when I understand the vocabulary better. To read it, I have put it on my Soul Reader glasses. They are like Kindle glasses, and I can just put them on and keep reading it. And it's very, very pleasant because when I'm lying down before I go to bed or just after I wake up, I can read my book. When I talk about fortune, is a very changing thing. It was changing for Seneca, and it was also changing for Neron. The emperor of the Roman people at that time, this emperor. It changes for the wealthiest and the most powerful people on earth very fast. Of course, nowadays it's a little different because they have more tools at this table to use extreme violence and to maintain themselves at the top of the pyramid. But in the past, even if you were Egyptian pharaoh, it would only last very small. Your life was very fast and you get poisoned or killed. You won't have fun a long time. You see a couple of battles and then it's over. And most of the time you're a kid like 14 years, 18 years, maybe 25 years old, and you die very young. Today, with technological progress, they maintain themselves at the top of the pyramid longer than in the past. In my fifth book, I've written about an interesting subject. Now, it's a Stoic perspective on that subject. So I won't go in the Stoic look too much. I have argued in my fifth book this morning when I was writing the passage, did argue that the paradigm we lived under until now is over. So until now, you lived in order to make a living, in order to work. Once you make some money, it is to spend it on consumerism, is to buy stuff. Clothes, handbags, shoes, designer shoes, and cars and villas and so on. But you had to consume as much as possible and as fast as possible. That was what made the money. That was how the system was maintained. And it didn't matter at all how useless your contribution to society is, because you create a desire and then you pretend being able to extinguish it, to give some fulfillment for people. You tell them you're missing something. But if you buy that product, you will be happy. You will feel full again. Your life will have meaning. That's called consumerism. And I have argued that that paradigm is over, that it's not what matters anymore. Now there's only one thing that matters. And this thing matters beyond everything else. It is technological progress in artificial intelligence. You want to win the AI race. That's the only thing right now that matters. Now, your politician who are a bunch of lying crooks, they won't tell you because they don't even understand anything. But they get that artificial intelligence will put them at the top of the pyramid forever. And what was impossible for Alexander the Great, Napoleon, or any other conqueror of the earth that we had, to subjugate every human being, and they make them act and behave exactly to the smallest degree to their will, that was impossible in the past. You didn't have the technology for it. You couldn't endorse it. Now, with artificial intelligence, it is possible. And the only thing that will guarantee your survival tomorrow, no opinion, no philosophy matters. The only thing that matters from now on is to win the AI race. That's the only thing that has any importance for you from now on. And they will act accordingly. And consumerism, which doesn't exist anymore when you don't work anymore. And since AI will do the work for you, most of the work, in a very short period of time, that consumerism is over. And the only thing that matters is to use all the resources at your disposal, everything to win the AI race. Because that's the only thing that will matter, that will maintain you at the top of the pyramid and will subjugate everybody to your will. That's what they want and that's what they will get. Now, I talked about that and the solution because it's actually not so bad. There's stuff you can do and you can start working on that right now. But my teacher is waiting already 2 minutes and I have to quit talking about this. So let's talk to him and see what he's up to. Hello, Norman.
Hello.
I'm awesome. I went for a run just before our lesson and I did a lot of stuff that I liked. I played the piano. I woke up very early, like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I played the piano. I did write a new passage in my new book. I went for a run. I also went to sleep at 9 o'clock in the morning and I wake up at midday because yesterday I did sleep only 1 or 2 hours. But everything is fine. I feel great. I have a lot of energy. What about you?
I've been struggling a bit with being ill and having a headache, but good news is I'm feeling pretty good today.
Sounds good. So you just have minor health issues, if I get you correct.
Yes. Although maybe I exaggerate, something minor can feel very major if you're not used to it. It's nothing too serious, I think.
I want to talk about something with you. If you have a couple of minutes, I want you to tell you a new thing that I'm using. It's called an agent. So OpenAI has released their agent and we can now use it. Do you know what an agent is? So an agent is a remote worker. So it does stuff for you. You can tell him what to do and he tries to do it for you.
What sort of things can it do?
Well, the example OpenAI gave is to plan a vacation, buy some shoes, get a dressing, flight ticket, go to the event, book a hotel, and write a letter, and so on. So that's the example they gave. But that's not what interests me, of course. But you can create any prompt, but you have to work on the prompt. It must be quite correct. And then he does some work for you. And I have created 2 prompts. One to work on creating B-rolls for me, because sometimes I make some short videos. And for that, I create some B-rolls to illustrate that. And it's a very tedious work. You always have to press the same button, do the same stuff over and over, open the same file, save it. And that he gets quite fast and I didn't have to work too much on it. And the other one is when I publish a lot of, for example, those short videos and I publish like 10 or 14 of them. And then I also have to go through all the questions you have to fill out and all the hashtags and all the keywords for search and so on. But the title is already generated. So he only has to fill out the document for publishing, actually. But you have to press a lot of buttons for that. And it's very repetitive and boring work. And he also does that. Now, the issue is he has some limitation. And he changes his behavior right now on a very frequent basis. So sometimes he does something, then he doesn't. Sometimes he works for only 9 minutes, and then he works another time, he works 30 minutes, and I had him work 50 minutes on a task. So it's very random. And sometimes he stops all the time and asks for confirmation, and sometimes he doesn't ask for confirmation at all. So it's a very infinite stage. It's the first generation and it's still changing its behavior from day to day. But it still does some work. Now, the bad thing is, how much work does it do for me? On the Plus plan, which costs 20 USD, he works approximately for 10 hours a month. That's what you can get out of him. It's like a human being working 10 hours. But he's a slow worker. So I think if I'm generous, I would say, well, he works 5 hours, but I'm much faster than that. He does 5 hours of work for me a month. And if I go to the Pro plan, but that's very expensive, it's 200 each month, then I would get 50 hours of work out of him. Or you can say 500, but he's a slow worker. It is an infant stage and it's not perfect from a solution. But I really enjoy when he does some work for me and I don't have to do very repetitive and boring stuff, because all the stuff he does, the hashtag, I won't generate them, I won't think of them. The title is there. You create from the title the hashtag. And for the keywords for searching, it's the same thing. With the title, you create the keywords for searching. Actually, YouTube should do that by default. They shouldn't bother me with it and ask me to fill out the document. They should do it. They should auto-generate it. It's such a simple thing, but they don't. So It's very nice when he does 5 hours of work for me, and then it's not all done because there are a couple of things he won't do. For example, you have to fill out the description, and that's a lot of copy paste once you have the description. So I cannot tell him to copy paste because I cannot give him access to the document for copy paste because he works in a virtual environment. He has his own OS where he runs on. He doesn't run on my computer. He runs in his virtual environment, like a virtual box. I don't know if you ever have used it to run Linux or something else. He runs in such an environment. But it is huge. It is awesome. But 5 hours of work, it's so low. I would like him to work until the end of the task. And if it takes 5 or 6 months without stopping, and I don't want any time limit. So there's a lot of things that have to improve. I thought about how much better he must get. He must get 1000x better. I think he has to double 3 times if I make the math correct. I just think he must get much better. And I think if he doubles 3 times his capabilities, then he will be good enough for the stuff I want to do with him. But he has to double 3 times. And the thing is, how long will that take? Since I think that the technological progress is exponential, I think it can happen quite fast. I think he can be twice as good as he is now in maybe 1 or 2 years. Or 2.5 years, then in 5 years he can double again. Then he has to double only 1 more time. On the last in a decade, I think he can get the increase I'm looking for in his performance. And then it would be awesome because I would have much more time and repetitive and boring stuff could be done with him. I'm really looking forward to that. What do you think about that, Norman?
Sounds good. And it's just a first release, right? So I'm sure it will get much better.
Makes me think of your friend, Mick. When I met him, I tried to talk about artificial intelligence since he studied it at university. And he said, well, he thinks we are plateauing and no major breakthroughs will come and things will go linear, but they won't be exponential. He was quite conservative in his view on things, just as you are, actually, when we talked about it in the past. But I don't believe so. I do not believe so. I believe it is exponential. I believe it's like transistors or cloud storage space, and they double up. There's a time period. You can put a clock on it. They regularly keep doubling and doubling. And they did that for a very, very long time. And even if people say, well, it will stop because we cannot go any smaller and we cannot improve anymore, they always find a breakthrough around and they maintained it until now. It is Kurzweil, and he was quite right. He predicted smartphones before they even existed. And that was not his only prediction he got right, but he also messed up a lot because he thought that human biology is the same. You can just upgrade a human being just as you upgrade a computer. He thought that was possible. And until now, it's not the case.
I'm thinking of smartphone, which I've not changed too much since the first iPhone came out. So, and nowadays, I think if you have a smartphone 5 years ago or 3 years ago, it's very similar. It's very small differences. So you think things usually plateau at some point, but it might not be now.
Well, I would disagree with that. I know that the concept of a smartphone stays basically the same. As long as they figured out that you don't need a keyboard, but you can just use the screen to type on it. That was the great breakthrough of Apple. That's what made them so extremely wealthy, but they didn't come up with it. They just were the first to implement it in a decent way. But I would disagree with that because I can show you 3 phones. I use 3 phones right now. All my other phones did break down, but I had a lot more. And one has maybe 2 GB RAMs. The other one has maybe 6 and the other one has 8. And they all cost me approximately the same. And the same with RAM is also the same with storage space. So their performance did increase in a very short period of time drastically. It is not that there was no technological progress. And yes, if you only want to make calls and get some SMS, well, then it doesn't matter to you at all. I agree that get a dumb phone. You will be more happy with it, less distractions. But for example, this week, I've used an app. It's called Sephira with an H at the end. And you have to download it. It's very hard to install. If I explain what it is and ask people to do it, maybe out of 1,000, there are 10 people who manage to install it and will use it. It's very hard to install because it's not a straightforward process. You have to download it from GitHub. The download process is already hard. Then you will get some error messages and you have to figure out how it works. Nobody explained it to you. AI did get me through the error message and then it works. Here's what it does. Or I have a script for opening it and a script for closing it. And that is because it's still buggy. If it's open too long, it will cease working. But with that app, I get direct access to my smartphone and I can use every app on my smartphone. So I have apps for a lot of stuff, including trading on my smartphone. And I can open them all on my PC. So people open the smartphone a couple of thousand of times, I think 4,000 or 5,000 times a day, which is madness to me. I don't even want to pick it up 5 or 10 times, but they pick it up all day long without end. They're always glued to the screen, people. I don't know what the number is. It's really a lot. I don't remember how, but it's a lot statistically. So the thing is, it is much nicer for me to interact with the screens I have in front of me because I have a lot of them. And I can also have a lot of apps simultaneously open. I can have one window for that app, one window for that app, one window for that app. And when I copy something on my PC, any text, I can straight input it in my phone. But not just with my PC, I can also copy it once I'm on the phone. So the copy and paste goes in one direction. When you copy something on your PC, you can paste it on your phone by using your phone. Of course, you can also do it with the app when it's open on your PC. But that's so huge. For me, that's a breakthrough that I have created full compatibility between my Android phone and my Windows PC. And I think if it exists, if you can install it on Mac, then there's also full compatibility on Mac. And that's some small developers who made that happen. It's not Samsung or Apple or any of those big companies. And for me, they are retarded that they're not buying it out. If I'm at the head of Samsung, that app gets bought instantly. And all those little bugs get fixed. And the next time I'm on stage, I explain to them how great our new feature is, that now every app and every phone is fully compatible, 100% with every PC. For me, it's just much nicer. When I want to check the weather, I don't have to pick up my smartphone. I just click a button on my PC and I see it on my screen, the weather app. And why do you use the weather app? Because there are a lot of weather apps. And I found one that is quite precise. For example, there was one day it was raining all day long, but I wanted to go for a walk and the weather app managed to give me 2 hours where there was no rain and it was correct. It's just detailed. But I do a lot of things and I really like that I can see all my messages that I got, that I can dismiss them. And all that I can do it with my PC without having to pick up my phone. Actually, I don't like holding a phone in my hand. I think it's heavy and it's not nice. But looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 screens around me, that's very pleasant and very convenient to me. So when you tell me there's no progress, it depends on what you're doing and what your goals are. Of course, if your goal is just to make a phone call and have an SMS, nothing has changed over the last, I don't know, 30 years since they have invented phones. But if you look at what you can do and the possibilities, well, to me, it's mind-blowing. Don't you think so?
I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure.
I talked about the agent with my friend Marian, and she was astonished. It's so awesome that you have somebody working for you 5 or 10 hours a month. It blew her mind. She was really astonished that exists. She never heard about it. And she told me something that was quite stupid. She said, that's because you went to university. And I said, Marian, the agent is new. I got it like 1 week ago. Not even. I guarantee you can go and talk to all the students. Nobody uses it. Nobody knows about it. And nobody implements it in their work right now. It's not university that told me that, and not anything else that is useful in my life. But if you didn't go there, you would never figure it out. And to me, that's very disturbing as a thought, because it means that the only way to learn something is if Kim Jong-un in his school teaches you. You on your own, you could never figure it out. That's what she thinks. And for me, that's disturbing, because I think everybody can learn how to read, to do math, how to talk, how to think. And I think it's possible on their own. Now, it's much easier if you don't waste 30 years until where to find the solution. If you have somebody who guides you. But that they don't teach in school. So what do you think about that, Norman?
Well, it's tough to unlearn what we've learned. And I do think everything like that has some. So I am very grateful for all the teachers I've had since kindergarten. I think without them, I wouldn't have developed as I did.
I mean, it's not bad to learn some basic stuff. I do not disagree with that. And if for you, the best place to learn that is in a school, having a teacher who tells you something and you try to understand, and then you have some standardized questions. If that's the best way for you to learn, great. It isn't for me. But I think that is obsolete and will be replaced. It will disappear. I don't think it will exist tomorrow. I think you get AI tutors who will work with you and they will know your level. They will know every answer you have ever get. They will know your weaknesses and they will teach you whatever you want. You can tell them whatever you want on whatever subject and you get instantly the best teacher on earth. That OpenAI just made an Olympic medal, a gold medal, Olympic gold medal in math. And the people they run against are the smartest. And they are called demigods. People talked of them like demigods. In order not to take their fame away, the 5 minutes of fame, the people who get the best rank in the competition, OpenAI actually kept silent about their winning the competition for a couple of weeks before they released the news. And the last time they entered the competition, a couple of months ago, they were ranked 800. Now, the main weakness with AI until now was math. It was really bad at math, and it's over. It's now better than any human. And that in a very short period, it jumped from rank 800. I don't know how many people are in that competition, but from 800, it jumped to first place. So why would I go to university, even if I want to a polytechnical school, if I want to study some math, and talk to somebody who won't even get 800 place in that competition, and also has no time to answer my question and doesn't want to talk to me? It's inhumane. They never want to talk to me. I cannot send them any messages. I cannot have any discussion with them about anything. I only can sit on my bed, listen, and then answer some standardized questions, which are either very boring because I know the answer, or the questions are too hard because I don't know the answer. But there's nobody I can talk to. That's not improving. That's very dumb as a way of teaching. I'm not against humans. People get me totally wrong. They think I'm against humans. I'm the opposite. I really like humans. But not when they try to dull me down, not when they try to inject into me some more propaganda and make me do stuff that I don't want to do. But I think it will totally change. Now, when I tell you that, you tell me, but the app doesn't exist now. I know that, Norman. If I look at my videos I produced on my channel, they were very crappy at the beginning. Especially the visual representation was very crappy. But now it has improved a lot, really a lot. And yes, I got better at prompting it. Yes, I do better my work in creating those videos with AI. But the main thing is the technological progress that it has. So at the beginning, people told me that looked at it, it's not nice. I don't like the picture. But they didn't understand that that was just a question of time until you will get the best art and the best pictures and the best videos you can dream of. That's why they don't get. I mean, they think we are here and we will never go there. And we are rising very fast. It's like we are on a highway making 300 kilometers an hour. We won't stay at the same place. Stuff will improve. And according to me, they will improve exponentially. Now, thank you for listening to my rant. And please tell me what you think. And tell me how inhumane I am because I do not like humans, which is not true. I'm trying to create some controversy to wake you up, to see if you can say something.
I don't really want to argue about this. I don't have a strong opinion. I guess we'll see what happens. It's technological advancements. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Norman, for listening to me and giving me your opinion. Now, do we start straight with poker or would you like to talk about something else before?
Well, I would ask you, how much did you run for and what goals you have with running?
My physical exercise.
Yes.
Didn't run very long because I had very little time since I had our meeting schedule. But also, I do not try to run actually for a very long period of time. It's just that I feel much more energized and much more healthy when I do. Your body has some fluids in it and they have to get moving. And if you spend too much time always sitting like I do now on my ergonomic chair, I sometimes sit 8 hours straight and it's not the most healthy thing. For me, it's really important to take a break and do an exercise in virtual reality, or when it's daytime and not raining, to go for a run. And when it's raining, I want to go for a walk with an umbrella and use my exoskeleton as resistance. And if you work 1 hour on resistance mode at the highest level, You will have pain on your legs when you come back. It will hurt actually more than when you go for a run. So you do an exercise just by walking. People talk about health a lot, but they think that health is just swallowing a pill. And in reality, that's not what will make you healthy. What will make you healthy is to make an effort and to endure some pain. I make it easier on me by using an exoskeleton because it will assist me in that. But it's a trick, actually. It's a trick that I play with my brain because when it gets more easy, I just run faster. So actually, I do a lot of effort. But even then, it just feels more pleasant. When I didn't have my exoskeleton and I went for a run, I started cheating. So I stopped more frequently. I run the same distance because I told myself I have to do at least the same distance. But I run it a little slower every day. And when I have the exoskeleton, then I run quite fast. Today, I doubled a couple of people. And normally, the people who run are quite athletic. So they're more athletic than me. They run faster than me, even with my exoskeleton. But if I compare my speed without it and with my exoskeleton, I just run faster. So the thing is, my goal with it is just to be in good health. It's a Stoic exercise to do some sports every day. It doesn't have to be long, and it doesn't matter what it is. What you want to do is go to play some golf, which isn't very intensive, but you still walk from one hole to the next. If that's what you want to do, it's great because you get out and you have some sunlight and so on. It is really important to do something for your health. And going for a run is easy. All you have to do is put on some shoes and, in my case, an exoskeleton, which isn't the easiest thing because it's first generation and the first one did break down after just 2 months. And then I did get a new one on the guarantee. So they immediately sent me a new one as soon as I gave it to the post guy. And DPT, as soon as they had the tracking number, they saw that I sent it to them. They immediately dispatched a new unit to me. So that's nice. I did get it quite fast and now I can use it again. But I don't have any goals. I don't want to run a marathon. I don't want an Olympic medal. I'm not interested in any of that. I just want to improve. So make the distance I run a little longer every day because I just feel great. And it's easy now to run for half an hour or 45 minutes. And I also want to run a little more when it's sunny and nice outside. My goal is just to be in good health. But I don't think that I will ever go much higher than 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hours. I do it just to feel better. And the thing is, once I increased a little, the distance a little longer, normally I don't cut back. So at a bigger distance. Does this make any sense? And do you have any feedback? I know what you're talking about. But you don't use an exoskeleton and you don't have to. If you can motivate yourself without an exoskeleton and you can go for a run without an exoskeleton, then you really don't need it. Then it's a waste of money. And I think that if I go running with you, I think that you run faster without an exoskeleton than I do. But you don't do it as much as I do. I try to do it every day. If you look at the distance we both run in a year, I run more than you. But if you look at how fast we run on a single run and how far we run, I think you beat me. On a single run, you beat me. But not on the total amount of runs and the total amount of distance. But in a single day, yes, you beat me.
Maybe. I don't run too often, but I do walk a lot. I think I walk like 100, 150 kilometers together with running every month.
And why do you walk so much?
Like it's like slow running, I guess.
Why don't you get a dog in that case? You could go for a walk with your dog.
I guess I like walking without a dog. And with dog, you have to stop every moment.
Do you go on hikes also?
I do like hiking, but I don't go as often as I like. I guess I go maybe a few times, well, maybe a bit more than a few times a year. But I know it's quite popular in Germany and Switzerland and these places for people to go hiking. I think it's also more challenging as you have mountainous regions.
A really awesome place to go for hikes. They're very nice places. If you can afford a trip, go into the Grand Canyon, the US, or there are a lot of places that are really, really astonishing to see and to walk through if you can afford it and if you want to travel for it. But there are people who do that passionately. So I think it's a very nice thing, even if you don't go anywhere very special, but if you have some nature around you, and you can do that, even if there's only just a forest, I think it's awesome. Anything else, Norman? You don't have to say yes. I'm just asking because I think it's important to not just talk a monologue, but also listen to the person you are interacting with. People are very egocentric nowadays. and they only care about themselves. I mean, they want you to listen to what they do, and then they want you to say how awesome it is. But if you say, I listened and I'm really happy for you, and here's what I do with my days, they're not interested. They don't even listen. They don't reply. I don't know if you realize that with some people.
I guess every person is different in that way. Some listen more than others.
I can give you an example. My example, I try to be quite brief. The best piano teacher I had was called Ksenia, and she's Ukrainian, and she managed to get to become a teacher in a conservatorium in a city close to where I am. And she gave me lessons before and when she was a teacher there. But then the director of the conservatorium said that she could not receive people from the outside anymore. So she told me that, and then I went to her home for a couple of lessons. But then there was the conflict in Ukraine, and she had to receive her elderly parents, and the apartment is very small. So it was not possible anymore with all those people in that apartment for the piano lessons. So we had to stop. And recently I saw, because I've installed one more Instagram app, it gave me a picture. And he said, she's on Instagram, contact her. And I thought, I think a lot about her frequently. And I'm so glad that I had lessons with her, and I will send her a small message. So I did contact her and told her that I think highly of her and that I would be very honored if once we meet again and maybe I can show her what I do on the piano. We could just have a drink, or when she does a concert, I could talk to her after the concert. So I just wrote her a nice message, and she answered me with a picture. She's now a mom. She just had a baby, and he looks like 1 or 2 years old, maybe 1 year old. And she also told me that she's still playing the piano in her conservatorium. And she said, I don't remember why we stopped our lessons. And she also said, do you still play the piano? So I answered all her questions, and I told her what I'm doing right now. And I have received no reply, nothing, not well done for your book or anything else. I told her, I answered all her questions. Now, of course, the answer was a bit long since she asked me 1 or 2 questions, but no reply. Just like if she doesn't care. So I thought maybe she gets it wrong. Maybe she thinks I'm trying to seduce her or something else. So I write one more message. I said, I had no reply to my last message. I hope you don't misinterpret my words and give them a different meaning than they are intended. No reply. So she likes to brag about her life, about her being so happy that she's a mom, and all her success, that I have to be like clapping with my hands, say, oh, awesome, 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 awesome. But when I talk about my life, not one single word to reply. She doesn't care. And I said it to my friend Marianne, and she said, yes, it's normal because people are only interested in themselves. She answered you at the first time when you contacted her to show her a picture. That she wanted to do because it is about herself. But when you talk about you, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist in her universe. People are very egocentric. So I didn't have the impression that she was like this when she was my teacher. And I still respect her. And she still matters a lot to me. But if she doesn't give a crap about what I say or what I write, or when I try to say hello to her, if that doesn't matter to her, if it's just an occasion to show me her kid, now it's nice. I'm really happy to see her picture with her kid. And I'm extremely touched and glad that she's a mom and finds fulfillment in that. I think it's awesome. I'm 100% for it. But you're not the only thing on earth, and maybe you can look at somebody else, even if just for a couple of seconds. And 1 or 2 words like, well done for your book. I'm glad that you're happy with your life. Just 1 or 2 words. It won't kill. What do you think?
Well, especially small kids take up 24 hours a day, so I'm sure she is very tired and just minutes like this, so.
I agree, Norman. I know that. And I know she's busy, and I know she cannot spend some time with me or even receive me for a piano lesson. I get all that. That's not what I'm doubting. I know that. I know that her life for things beyond our controls made us stop our lessons, and I don't see her anymore, which is unfortunate because she was the best teacher I ever had. But you must be objective. Sometimes I see a mom with a kid, with a stroller, and what she does all day long, she has her phone in front and she writes messages. That's what most people do nowadays. They're really glued to the screen. So writing 3 or 4 words, I'm sure she read the message, not just once, but maybe 5 or 10 times. So she has time to read my message 5 or 10 times and to think about it, but she can't write 2, 3 words, or just give me a heart. That takes a second. So the excuse that she can't find the time only stands up to a certain degree. I know she might take 1 week or 1 month, but if she never answers and she really doesn't give a crap about what I say or what I do, there's something wrong. That's inhumane. For me, she matters a lot. She's the best teacher I ever had. I will be grateful to the end of time. And that she doesn't care at all about her student, how he's doing or what he's doing. Yes, she said, what about you? But I only think she did it in relation to piano. In the relation to maybe I teach him again and I make some more money. I might be wrong. I don't want to be too harsh with her. But it's inhumane not to answer somebody. And that's also what I don't like with our school system. You can never interact with the teachers. There's no teacher I can ever send a message to. No assistant. Well, some assistant became my friend, but that was a very different thing. It's just because he studied and I studied the same thing. So we ended up being friends. But that's very rare. I'm the only one who became a friend with an assistant of a teacher. So normally you can never talk to them. You can never write a message and you can never have a discussion with them. And you can never argue. And a lot of things are really controversial, especially when you look at a lot of subjects. Actually, I think all of them. But especially stuff like psychology and psychiatry, because that's one way of looking at it, but it's not the only one. And they have very little to prove us what they are teaching. But you can never talk about it. You can only listen and answer the question as you're supposed to answer. The standardized test, everybody gives the same answer. So that's inhumane. My clients, I don't have many, but the clients I'm financial advisor to, they can send me messages 24 hours a day. And as soon as I get the time, I will answer their message up to my ability. Sometimes I can only say, there's nothing I can do, but maybe we'll meet and we talk about it once. Sometimes I cannot give them the answer they want, but they always can contact me. All my friends, 24/7, they can contact me, write me messages. And as soon as I find some time, I'll answer. Maybe my answer is only short, couple of words if I cannot do more. But everybody can write me messages 24/7. All my friends, all the people who I have connections to. Marianne, my friend, she writes me messages nearly every day. Sometimes a lot because she's interested in talking to me. To me, that's normal. I know that's an exception and you don't get a friend who keeps on interacting with you. Not everybody has that. Most people now, the more they use new technologies like smartphone, the less friends they have. The more time they spend on the screen, the less friends they have, the less people they have to talk to interact with. It should be the opposite. Those technologies should make us easier to follow people, to take notes on them, and so on. Every time I meet somebody, I have an app where I write down and it syncs in the cloud. Every time I meet somebody, I have his name. If he gives me address, I write down his phone numbers and then write down details he gave me during the conversation. For example, one of my piano teachers that I met, I had no lessons with her until now, but I will probably next month have one message. But I met her like 1 year ago and I still didn't have any lessons. But I write down everything she said. She told me, for example, that she has a boyfriend who plays poker. So in 5 or 10 years, when I want to get in touch with her again, I just read what it says in my app that syncs. And then I get back to her and say, I remember you have a boyfriend. Do you still have the boyfriend? And so on. It starts a conversation. But that's something you can only do now because before what you do, you have to find a piece of paper. Now I just type her name and I have all her information. So what I want to say is, I think it's inhumane if you don't care about other human beings. Especially not if you meet them and spend some time with them and had a relationship with them. That's inhumane. So I also know that you can only do that up to a certain extent, maybe 30 people, maybe some will manage 300 people, but you cannot do it for billions of people. But still, I think you should care about the human beings you meet and try to create a connection. So the connection between me and your friend Michael still exists. Mikhail, I'm saying it wrong. Mikhail, sorry. It still exists. And maybe we will also meet doing a video chat or he come visit me again. So the connection still exists and he still gives me his opinions on matters. So that's great. It's great finding somebody with who you can exchange and keep interacting with. Any reply? Or do you think we should not waste our time and just play poker? When I say stuff like this, don't have to take it seriously. It's like a joke. I'm just trying to show some extremes so we can argue about it and think about it. I don't think that you don't care about people and you care only about poker. I think the opposite about you. But I say it just to get your feedback and see what you think. For example, Marianne, the only thing she wants to talk about is love. And she thinks love is what the Bible teaches. Unfortunately, she's mistaken on that.
I'm not sure what to say. I guess I try to follow that, to be nice with people and reply to them when I can. But everyone can do as they please and no one's perfect. And sometimes it's not easy to reply for whatever reason. I mean, you never know the reasons of a person. Maybe it's been her lifelong dream to write a book, and it brings up a lot of emotions and it's difficult to verbalize it. Maybe it's something else that she doesn't feel appreciated in some way, and that it's tough for you to understand. So I think there could be a million reasons, or maybe in her mind or culture, it's not so important to always reply, and you should only reply when you have something meaningful to say, which maybe her mind isn't just to acknowledge what you say, but if you don't have like something to add to it, then you might as well not say anything. There's 100 different reasons, and everyone is a bit different in this way. And to be emotional or to show appreciation or just to send a heart emoji, like you said, it can be quite tough. I think Ukrainians are quite known to be like more cold and reserved people. So it can be a cultural thing, can be a personal thing. It can be sometimes we just forget and then it's awkward or strange to write a bit later, or I don't know, I'm just saying some stuff now, but I think we shouldn't take it too hard too much. I don't think it means something bad necessarily.
I don't take it too hard too much. Maybe there's a misunderstanding, as you said. Maybe she got the wrong impression or something else. Or maybe I said something and she disliked. All that could be true. But the thing is, it put me in a hard situation because I cannot keep sending her messages when she doesn't answer. That's stupid. You cannot keep doing that. So all I can do in best case is maybe in 5 or 10 years, if I think about her again, write her one more message and see if then she answers, if then she has changed her mind. That's all I can do. But until then, I can do nothing. And in 5 or 10 years, if I don't get an answer, well, then I have to stop also. I cannot do any harassment. So just not answering is a way of breaking up a relationship forever. You should be aware of that when you act in that way. And that might be what she wants. But if she really wants to break up with me, then she could just have the courage and tell me, I don't want to talk about it with you anymore. And this is why. If she said that, then maybe I could learn from my mistake and try not to do it in the future again. If I did any mistake, I don't think I did. That's the issue with the situation. But I'm not taking it personally. I'm not offended by it. I just think it's strange. I think the way people behave is strange. But a lot of things are strange. And people being glued to their phone all day long, that's strange. But still never finding the time to answer a message, that's also strange. A lot of things are strange. Don't you think so?
Maybe, I guess no one owes us a response in that way. So every response we should appreciate it. And when we don't get it, I think it's also should be accepted. I think that's important as well. You're right. It's kind of ends a relationship or a communication, which the other person might want for various reasons again. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Well, I think you have some obligations, but they're only moral obligations, and not everybody agrees on that. But for your friends, family members, or people you meet and interact with, I think you have some obligations against all of humanity. In my opinion, you have some obligations. You should do good, not bad, and should have some morals, some principles for all of humanity, but especially for the people you met and you agree to talk to. Now, there are people you never want to talk to because they're dangerous, because you dislike them. Then you have no obligations to them.
Change your mind, right? It's possible to change your mind on someone.
Look, there's somebody in the building where I live who went a couple of times to prison. And he's quite a violent and dangerous man. And he has a very displeasing aura around him. So it's really not somebody you want to interact with. And the thing is, he comes to you and talks to you, but he always says mean stuff. And it's always dangerous to listen to him or to have any interaction with him. So the best thing you can do is just work past and say nothing. But it's very hard because when you work past him, he starts staring at you. And then you naturally want to say good day or something like this. And it's a bad idea because you really don't want to interact with him. So there are people you want to avoid at all costs because they are dangerous. You don't want to deal with them. They have issues, a lot of issues, drug-related issues and so on. They messed everything up that can be messed up. And you really don't want to interact with them. It's a bad idea.
Maybe
Look,
she perceived you as dangerous.
maybe she perceives me as dangerous. That's what you're saying, Norman? You could be right. You could be right on that subject. But then again, you have to be coherent. If you believe that he's dangerous, then don't give him piano lessons and don't send him pictures of your kid. Just a joke. How about we look at poker?
Sure. Always interested in that.
Great. You look very philosophical now because actually people want to talk too much. Like Marianne, one of her mistakes is she really wants to talk too much. And she says a lot of things without thinking at all about her answer. And today, not always. It's not that most of the time you just talk nonsense, but today especially, you take a long time before answering. And that's actually a good thing. People should think before they talk. I'm not doing it right now, but yes, it's better to think about what you say before you talk. I have Jack 2 offsuit. I'm on the big blind and after button, who is limping. The small blind is calling. And I check. Now I have a jack, second pair. But there's a king, which is dangerous. And there's also 2 spades, which are dangerous because he could make a flush.
On a possible straight.
And a possible straight, you're correct. So the small blinds goes for 1 big blind. And I think I have to call because it's too small to fold. And in the pot, we have 475 big blinds. Is that with the big blind he just put on the table?
Yes.
So I think I have to call. I have enough outs to call. But the thing is, the reward is just too big. And he only wants 1 big blind. I cannot fold that.
What do you think he has? What do you think he's saying his hand is?
Well, he could have a jack or he could have a 9. I don't think he has a king. In both cases, what's the point of putting 1 big blind on the table just to make somebody fold who has nothing? But he could have a good jack, better jack than me. What do you think?
Tough to know at this moment, but it doesn't look like he has a king. So I think that makes your jack want to continue here as well. Although it's not very pleasant, I think we both agree that if pot was smaller or if he bet more, we would want to fold here. But yes, for 1 big blind, I think we'll carry on and we have some good turn cards to hope for. We're also hoping that player 5 stops betting. So I think something good could happen that 17% of the times are displayed for. One thing I'd point out is even if he has a hand as strong as Jack 7 or Jack 8, there's still many ways. It could be a split pot, just takes another higher card than a 7 or an 8, and it would be a split pot. So that's another thing. Even if he had a better this moment, as only best 5 cards play, right now your 4 best cards are Jack, Jack, King 9. So the 5th card might not matter if an 8 or a 9 or a jack or a queen or some high card appears. So we even have chances to split the pot against a stronger jack at this moment.
Thank you, not that it fold. So I made a bad decision. That's why I wasn't sure.
I mean, bad is a strong word, but I think you could carry on in this case, yes. And even though it's speculative, like you said, the reward was pretty good. And if you lose that 1 big blind, even though it's not preferred, I think it's something that wouldn't reduce your chances too much. But overall, I'm not surprised that you fold, as I think in these limped pots, it's very easy to, or very natural to not want to, like you didn't even want to play this back to, and now they forced you to play it. So I can understand why to fold it as you would have folded it pre-flop otherwise.
That's one of the reasons, Norman. But the other one is that I only had 9.4 left, for 1 left. And the thing is, if I had 15 big blinds or if I had 20 big blinds, I wouldn't hesitate to call. But with that, I thought that every big blind from now on matters. I'm not on 6 big blinds where it's even more strong, that feeling. But with 9 big, you should not waste them. And if you ask 1 big blind now, and then 1 big blind afterwards, and 1 big blind afterwards, and then in the end he has his king or a better jack, then I'm not so happy.
I guess my last thing I'd say on this was how you perceived his bet to be. That you perceived it to be a jack or a nine or maybe a flush draw. And that means you have a good chance of having the best hand.
The thing is, maybe I can afford, maybe I can try. I'll try next time to make a better decision. Thank you, Norman. What tournament do you want me to look at?
Any tournament, and just let's go from the beginning. Click top left and go from first. And I imagine you fold this one. So on to next one. We're gonna fold these nines. Let's start with this. Seems reasonable.
So I try to get rid of somebody. I want player 6 or player 7 to fold. They don't care of my 5x raise.
So what do you think their average hand is?
The average hand, oh, let's see. The same hand for both of them. How do I give a good answer to that question?
Well, I'll start by giving a bad answer, and then I'll try to say something, and then you can give another answer.
They did limp, so that doesn't make the hand very strong. But then they did call, so that tells me that the hand is stronger than what I thought. So if the hand is stronger than what I thought, what could they have? 10, 9 suited, average. Does it make sense?
Well, it did make sense what you said, although I would think 10-9 suited is one of the weaker hands they would have in this scenario.
Then I have to go higher. The thing is, if average is higher than that, then it's queen jack suited. That's quite strong, huh?
Exactly, yes. So what would be one of their better hands they could have here? What would be the strongest hands they could limp call on this board? No, I mean, ace king is a good answer, but they could also have an 8, right?
But the thing is, they again showed weakness. I checked.
Exactly. So
They both check. Do you really check if you have 3 of a kind or a king and you face 2 opponents? Why would you do that?
exactly, it's not very likely. I'm just trying to find out what do they most usually have here, right? And for that, I want to establish that sometimes they might have an extremely strong hand, and sometimes they might have a very weak hand, like 10-9 suited. So sometimes, although rare, they could have a king, like ace king or king 10. They could also have an 8. If they have 10-9 suited, why can't they have 9-8 suited or 8-7 suited? They could, although it seems quite unlikely. And then worst case, they have something like 10-9 suited or jack 10 suited, and what would be in the middle of those two, I think would be also similar to your hand, but maybe a bit weaker. Maybe they have something like queen jack, what you said, but also something like ace 5 could be there. So what I'd like to establish is most likely, or
Ace 5. If ace 5 suited, you tell me, or ace 5 offsuit. In both cases, now, would you really call 3-bet with ace 5 offsuit?
I wouldn't be surprised by it that people limp call ace 5, ace 7, ace 9. People like to play their hand.
Because I wouldn't, and you wouldn't play that.
Exactly, but the question wasn't what would your average hand be here, which is a good and valid question. The question really is what your opponent's hand would be there in this case. So I think we can establish that probably you have the strongest hand at this point, more often than not.
You're very optimistic.
Well, what are you worried about them having a better hand?
I don't think they have an 8 or a king, and they cannot make a straight or a flush. I'm not worried about any of that. What can they have better? They can have a better ace. They can have a jack ace, queen ace, or a ace king. I don't think they have ace king, but ace jack they could, or ace queen. So there are 2 chances that I have better hand. Yeah, so you're correct. Probably I have the best hand. I agree with you. After thinking about it, I agree with you.
All right. I think you could do what you did here to check and see the turn. One benefit of that is you get an extra confirmation on the turn. If they're also checking on the turn, then you can increase your confidence in that you have the stronger hand. The downside to it is the turn could change it, right? If the turn is a queen, jack, a 9, it comes a flush draw, and then things could change. I don't think it's a bad idea at this point if you bet and try to make them fold.
Here's why I didn't do my continuation, because I'm facing two opponents and it's already hard to make one of them fold. So I didn't want to risk it with two.
It's hard to make people fold when they have something. But if we read into the situation that they probably have queen jack, queen 10, jack 10, maybe that ace 7 or something like ace 9, or even if they did have that ace jack that's stronger than your ace 10, even ace jack wouldn't be very happy about this board. That king looks scary on it. I think you don't have to bet too much here. And if they have nothing, they could fold. And also, if you look at how many chips they started with, it would put immense pressure on them, even if you bet something like 1/3 pot here. So 1/3 pot would roughly be how many big blinds?
Maybe 7 big blinds.
7 times 3 is 21. So that's a bit much.
6.
6 times 3 is 8. That seems about right. If you bet 6 big blinds, roughly how big of a chunk of player 6 remaining chips would that be?
A little less than half.
A little less than half, but nonetheless, very big investment. So unless he has a king or an 8, which you don't think he has, it would really be in a very difficult situation to continue. And for player 7, it's a little better, but even for them, it would be almost third of their chips. I think there would be good chances that they would have to fold, even if they had the same hand you did, even if they had a little better, something like ace jack, and surely if they had a weaker hand, which they will have quite often, stuff like queen jack, jack 10. So in this spot, you have a lot of leverage over these players through them essentially would be asked to risk close to their tournament life. But from your side, it wouldn't be too much of a risk. So in this case, I do think there's chances to make them fold. Now, you're right that in general, it's dangerous to bet into two players. But what's to your benefit here is you already saw that they did not want to bet. And secondly, it's tough to connect with this board. You said it yourself, there's no straight draws, no flush draws. People don't play an 8 very often, and there's already 2 on the board. They weren't betting, so probably they didn't hit that king. So I think it would be profitable here to bet and would make your life easier on the turn. Well, hopefully you wouldn't even have to see the turn. And now from your standpoint, how many times could you lose 6 chips until it would equal the size of the pot?
Well, the question is obvious, isn't it? You told me to bet 1/3 of the pot, so 3 times.
3 times. Now, would I be correct then in saying that if this play would work 1 in 4 times, it would be close to a break-even play?
Why do you say close now? I think it is the definition of break even.
Well, why do I say close? So if 3 times you bet 6 chips and would be unsuccessful, so both players wouldn't fold, after 3 tries you would be down how many chips?
18 chips.
So, and if 4th time you were successful, you would win how many chips?
17.82.
So why would I say close to break even then?
Because it's not exactly that. I get it now. Thank you.
Now, here's the question.
You're the most patient poker gator.
Thank you. Here's a question. How likely you think it is that both players will fold here, considering all the things we've discussed?
I think it's quite likely. The only thing I don't like is that they did call my 3-bet. It's not extremely likely, but they don't like the flop. So now the chances is still good that they will fold the stuff they have.
Is it at least 30%, 33%?
That both of them fold? 33% that both of them fold?
Yes.
Why don't you ask for, I mean, you just made 1/3 out of 100. But if you make 1/4 out of 100, I'm just thinking if you cannot put the 33 a little higher. Because if we could put 33, why do you think it's only 33 and could not be better than that, the probability that they fold?
Well, why I start with that is if it is 33%, then if we go through the thought experiment, you would lose 6 chips twice and win 17.83 once. Would that be great for you?
It would be great, but I'm not sure that the answer is yes. Now make the same thing. Ask me the same question, but with 4 instead of 33. What's the probability with 4? Now you gave me 3 times to make the money, but let's say I have 4 times. What's the probability then?
Probability when? I'm not sure I got your question there.
I'm not precise in the way of wording it.
Let's start with this. How often do you think both of them will fold? Give me an estimation.
I don't know the answer to that question. But the thing is, you made 33, but I want you to not be our goal to make some money on this, but our goal to be break even. And I want to go through it again with break even in the break even scenario, because that would
In
help me.
break even scenario, if it's 1 in 4 times, then it would be break even.
And what will be the probability of that? It won't be 33. What will it be then?
It would be 25. It's 1 in 4.
So can I make them fold 25% of the time? And my answer would be yes. You see? So it's now easier to make them fold. No, why is my answer yes? It should be yes, my answer. But can I make them fold 25% of the time? That's easier. It's easier to make them fold 25% of the time than 33% of the time. Does it make any sense to you, Norman?
Yes, I guess so.
The thing is, we don't have to actually make money. It's okay if you just play around and get break even. It makes me think about 2 trades I had, even more than 2 trades recently. And they were all break even on different assets. And I think even on the same asset, I had like 2 or 3 trades in a row that were all break even. And that's quite rare because I don't get many break even trades usually. Usually I either make money or lose money. But now I had a series of break even trades. And I don't mind. It's a little frustrating because all those trades before going break even, they were all nicely in profits, but it's not too bad because I didn't lose any money.
The goal in decisions with poker would be a positive expectation. So if it would be break even, that would mean whether you make the play or not, it wouldn't make a difference. So it would mean indifference whether you do it or not. But it's good to establish the break-even point, and then if it's likely going to be better than that, then it would make it very good to do this play, right? So that's why I said if they actually fold way more than 25%, both of them, if they fold 1/3 or possibly even half the time, then there would be no question about risking 6 chips to win almost 18 chips.
Okay, Norman. But now let's think about something else. From a mathematical perspective, it won't affect my bottom line. But let's think about how they perceive me. If I play more hands, what will they think? They will think that I am a loose player. And if they think that I am a loose player, how will they react to my game style? I think if they think that I'm loose, they will interact more with me. And since I'm actually not loose, I'm more a tight player, that's good for me because I don't want them to fold when I have ace king offsuit or even pocket jacks. So I think it's not, as you say, indifferent. It is indifferent to my bankroll, but I think it would be better for me to be considered a loose player than too tight player. Because if I'm considered a very tight player, then they will be very scared every time I put some money on the table. What do you think about that, Norman?
Yes, your logic is true in that, but the indifference still holds true because that only is true what you said if you're a tight player. But if your goal is in the future to have a successful bluff, then actually it would work in reverse. And then you would want a tight image so you have more opportunity to bluff later. So it would impact your image. In that way, it is true that it would have an effect, but
what's the best image I can project on the table?
Really, in my mind, there isn't. It's more to do with you have to live with the image you have. I mean, if I had to choose, I guess I'd rather have a tighter image because that gives me the possibility to bluff, and because it's useful to have that possibility in a game where you can win even if you don't make a hand. But in general, I think the image will change, and often you can't change it, what your image is. People could also have an image of you regardless of what you do. Some people might just perceive everyone as being very aggressive and loose, and some people might think everyone's very tight. So I think more important is to recognize how it would impact your image. So in this way, you brought up a good point that it would impact your image, even if it's a break-even play, most likely.
Thank you, Norman. But the thing is, your answer is interesting to me because you have to choose between two things. And you choose, for you, it is more important to be able to bluff and have people fold when you bluff. That is more important. That is more important than playing your good hands. Because you get only good hands rarely. Pocket jacks, king ace offsuit, those hands you won't get them all the time. But bluffing, you can do it all the time. So you like to bluff more and have people thinking that you're very strong than to play actually your good hands. Because when you play your good hands, well, that's easy and you don't care about that too much. But you just think that you can make more money with bluffing than with actually value betting your good hands. That's what you tell me with the decision you just made.
Sort of. I mean, it's not like it's just how poker is like. So, I mean, the good hands will make money anyway. And maybe they would make more if you have a loose image. That's true. But you're still going to win the pot with a good hand. If they fold or don't fold, it's still going to go quite well. But with a bad hand, it'd be impossible to win if the people don't believe it. So, yes, with a tighter image, you would have chances to win both with good hands and bad hands. With a loose image, you really have a chance to win only with good hands. But then, yes, you will win a bigger pot.
Great. I think you're correct. I think it is better if they think I'm tight because when I'm tight, the good hands, I can win them. Even if I don't make a big pot, I can win them. And it is more important that I'm able to bluff and they believe my bluff and fold. I think that's the correct way at analyzing it. Do you think that question and we talking about this is interesting? Or do you think it's very basic stuff and I'm just still learning?
It's interesting. It's good to bring these things up. And it's good to be mindful of these aspects. I think they're crucial parts of poker to realize how other people perceive it. To end on the discussion on this decision here, I would like to bring to your attention that sometimes it doesn't take a big risk to have a positive return. So something like a 1/3 bet, which only has to work 25% or more, can be a very profitable move if the opponent's average hand is something like queen jack or an ace high. So I think that's something good for you to be aware of, that a good bluff doesn't have to be a big bluff. And often that's true in poker, that a small move can be extremely good move.
Okay, thank you, Norman.
And now on that note, I will have to end the lesson as I have another meeting which I have to attend.
Do you want to see how it finished? Or
I think, well,
I lost.
yeah, one player did have an 8. So you see, just because they checked on the flop didn't mean that they didn't have a good hand. And the other player had 9-5, which also means it wouldn't have taken a big bet to make them fold. So if this player with 8-7 would have had that jack 10, then it would have been successful.
Okay, thank you, Norman. It was awesome to see you. Have a good lesson, and I'm looking forward to see you next week. Thanks a lot for the discussion and our talk about poker. It was awesome. Take care.
Thank you. All the best. See you.
Bye-bye.